on the far side of town, sharing a dream with anyone. She's made it through heaven, she's made it through hell. It's just another story to tell. Have you ever felt you're missing the dream? Have you ever wished your life was like the movie on the screen, filled with heartbreaks and fights through Hollywood nights? Making up a bar queen on the phone in the great big boulevard, the place she belongs. It's just another story she tells. Have you ever felt you're missing the dream? Have you ever wished your life was like the movie on the screen, filled with heartbreaks and fights through Hollywood nights, through Hollywood nights, through Hollywood nights. You always looked after me, brother, when we were children. You always had my back. You took all the blame when our father caught us doing things that drove him mad. Through the years I could lean on you when I messed up. I'd call you in the night, but I broke too many promises and we split up. Though I still need ya, you gotta save me now. I'm slipping so far down, it's only you I trust to set me free from this. I don't know how I got into this awful spot. I don't know where it ends, so I could use your helping hand tonight. I wanna say that I'm sorry, I got sidetracked and I left you in the cold. I've seen your side of the story, I felt the drawback. My mistake took its toll. Finally, I have realized I was dead wrong. I wasn't thinking straight. No more lies, and from here on out I'll be better, 'cause I still need ya. You gotta save me now. I'm slipping so far down, it's only you I trust to set me free from this. I don't know how I got into this awful spot. I don't know where it ends, so I could use your helping hand tonight.
From the start to the finish, go hard and we winning. It's the heart of a villain, it's the heart of a villain. From the start to the finish, go hard and we winning. It's the heart of a villain, it's the heart of a villain. Hey yo, heart of a villain beats hard in the centrifuge. Bearded BP, 100 interviews. All it takes is 2 mics and 1 line. This is Bearded Villains podcast worldwide. Driving cross countries, getting ball tires. Fam across ponds, always inspired. Chapters connect, and then it's on fire. Check your phone, cause BV is like a live wire. They said that we couldn't do it and that another could. Never underestimate the power of brotherhood. Every bro, every chapter, every caption. Heart of a villain, bro. Lights, camera, action. Action, action, action. Let's go. BP. From the start to the finish, go hard and we winning. It's the heart of a villain, it's the heart of a villain. From the start to the finish, go hard and we winning. It's the heart of a villain, it's the heart of a villain. From the start to the finish, go hard and we winning. It's the heart of a villain, it's the heart of a villain. From the start to the finish, go hard and we winning. It's the heart.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition, Thursday Night Live, of The Heart of a Villain, the podcast and live stream devoted to the Bearded Villains Worldwide Brotherhood and the lives they are changing all over the world. Welcome to episode 145. 145. Crazy, crazy times, boys and girls, because we're at kind of a fun crossroads here, because we're hitting up on a couple of, well, we've already crossed one kind of cool date or milestone, I guess you'd call it, and then just as a side note too, I believe mathematically speaking, the on the calendar anyway, even though the timing, if you average out 1 week per episode type of a thing, doesn't math up, because the first handful of episodes were every other couple weeks or every 2 or 3 weeks initially. But we are here at the podcast coming up on our 3-year anniversary. 3-year anniversary as far as on a calendar since this here show has been in existence. And it's so cool. It's so cool. This week is actually the anniversary time of the approximate time within a week or so of when the World Meet was out in LA this next week or so. And that was when I got the first interview for the podcast for episode 1. And it's just kind of cool to think back on all this time. Think back on, 3 years of interviewing and talking to brothers from literally around the world. And this thing has exceeded my expectations. Not so much in numbers, not in, obviously this was never something that I did so that I would become famous or the show would become famous or Bearded Villains would become famous or anything like that. It was never designed to do that. And so that's not even a goal that I was looking into. But it's done what I wanted it to do so far to this point, because selfishly, number one, I wanted to be able to learn about Bearded Villains. I wanted to be able to talk to brothers from around the world, not just in my neck of the woods, not just close by home, not just in the state, not just in the Midwest. I wanted to talk to guys from all over the place. I wanted to learn about chapters. I wanted to learn about what's going on in your part of the world. And this show has done just that. In 3 years' time, just recently, we finally hit a milestone of downloads on the audio form. And it's one that I'm proud of, even though, it's minuscule in numbers compared to, your fancy podcasts that are out there that have millions and millions of views. But the podcast finally eclipsed over 20,000 downloads of the show, which, hey, I think it's pretty cool. And even though it's taken, 3 years for that to happen in time frame, or 145 episodes, what's really cool is that there's people that find this podcast at different points of their life. Some people have found BV and decided it wasn't for them, but they were listeners for a time. There's people that were in BV before I was, and were grateful for the Heart of a Villain podcast being a resource like I intended it to be, so that they could hear about things going on in the world of BV. And so they've listened to it. And not everybody listens to podcasts, and I understand that. Not everybody watches YouTube for the live streams like we're on right now. But sometimes people will listen at their leisure, depending on what the topic is for the week. And so they may not download and may not listen to every single episode, but the fact that it's here, the fact that the show is here, and that if somebody wants to check in with us during a given week and find out what's going on in the world of BV, based on some event we're covering or something that's going on in the world or whatever it is, we are here. This show is here, and that excites me. It really does, because this has been an amazing resource for me to learn about all of you. And it's also been a great resource for me to help spread some of the news that you guys are doing. So not only do I get to learn, you get to learn, but we also get to learn from each other about what our chapters are doing. And that is so cool. So we finally reached a milestone. Like I said, in the last couple weeks, we reached a milestone of over 20,000 downloads in the audio form. And I wish that everybody that's watching right now would make sure that they're subscribed to the show, because that also helps. Down the road, if we get the actual subscriber numbers up over on YouTube, there's some other things that we can do with the show, possibly to raise a little bit of money down the road, maybe, that we can donate to charity. There's all sorts of cool stuff that we can do if we get those subscribed numbers up down the road. But hey, I'm not, beggars can't be choosers. I'm just loving this, and I'm just having a blast. So thank you guys for being loyal listeners, loyal viewers of the show. It's just fun. It's really, really fun. So thank you for being here. This is episode 145. I can't believe we're already 5 episodes away from 150. But tonight, I wanted to kind of, just because I was kind of in this nostalgic mood when I started looking back on what has been going on with the show, with the podcast, as we come up on this 3-year anniversary mark. I wanted to kind of look back on the year, because I looked at the calendar and realized, oh my gosh, we're halfway through the year. One of those little things that obviously it comes and goes and you don't realize it, but it has, and we're already halfway through the year. And I started looking back on some of the really cool stuff that I, as a villain, as a representative captain of my chapter here in Northern Indiana, some really cool things that I've been able to be a part of in this year, this full year post-COVID, and to meet people. And so I just wanted to, for myself, just to kind of take a look back on some of the really fun stuff that I've been able to be a part of, to let some of you guys potentially, if you want to come online and express what's been a fun year for you, be it personal wise, it could be something Bearded Villain related, it could be whatever. Is it something that you're looking forward to in the coming weeks and months? That could be as well. So putting that out there right now, if you want to come online, if you want to come on live on the show to talk to me, you know how to do that. That's on the Line audio call. You just got to find me online, LINE, the Line app. Most of you have access to that and can find me on there. And all you got to do is just do a Line audio call on there. And I'll bring you on and we'll talk about what has been really fun or stands out so far to the year for you. Real quick, I want to say hello to the people that are here with us live on the broadcast here on YouTube. And I got to say hi and happy Thursday to Mr. K-Mac BVENC. How you doing tonight, buddy? Mr. Rob Fetters is here as well. Mars is hanging out with us. Mars, I know for sure, is going to be another one of those guys I get to hang out with next week, just a few days away in Chicago. Many of you guys are going to that. It's very cool to see. Jake, good to see you, buddy. Nice to see you here. Ken is hanging out with us, as well as Tim. Franks and Beans is with us again tonight. Mr. Forge, how you doing? How you doing? Buddy is hanging out with us. Reverend O'Neill, good to see you. I hope the weather has cooled down in your neck of the woods. I know that you've been going through some heat. For sure. As I said, Ken's here. Mr. Youngster, how you doing, Youngster? Rababa. He is listed as Rababa on the road, and he is going to be on the road just in a matter of days, coming back over across the pond to see all of us Yanks. He's coming to see us Yanks over here at the World Meet. I can't wait to meet him finally in person. That's going to be a blast. He says he's already packed. He's already got things going. I got the goodies packed for World Meet already. He's already packed. That's the way to be. Way to be. I'm still waiting on a few things to be delivered that I'm planning on taking. So fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. But yeah, Reverend says the monsoons cooled us down. That's good to know. Every once in a while, you need to have the bad storms to cool you down when you guys have that weather out there. Absolutely, for sure. So I'm going to just say now that the phone lines are open. The phone lines are open. And if you want to call in online to talk about something cool that you guys have done for the year so far, by all means, I will do so. I'm going to start off with what we normally do and get into our merch and chapter goodness. Got a couple things to talk about with there. Some of the chapter merch that's ending soon for sale, and we've got some chapter merch or some chapter news. We've got some brand new chapter merch coming out to share with everybody. Again, if for some reason I miss you, or your merch or something like that, please don't be too upset with me, because it's an honest mistake and I didn't mean to do it. But let's get into some chapter merch real quick. All right. So first thing we got on deck here is one that we've had, but it is still an active thing as far as I know. I checked earlier today, and I was able to still see it on the store, so I'm assuming it's still out there. From the 3-Star Villains. 3-Star Villains. It's available at 3starvillains.bigcartel.com. They've got a X Factor patch. They have a 3-Star Villains logo shirt for $15 to $27, depending on your size, and 2 different versions of a hat with their X Factor, a red and a white. Very cool to see. Available at 3starvillains.bigcartel.com. Also still available, you guys, if you don't have this, how many glow-in-the-dark patches really do you get? How many glow-in-the-dark patches do you have? If you're like me, not many. Not many. But this one looks pretty cool. And who knows, it may not be available in this thing. So in this configuration down the road. So if you want to get it in this logo, hey, you never know when chapters are going to change things up. UtahVillains.org. It is their glow-in-the-dark chapter patch. The bee's wings glow in the dark. Pretty creepy cool for sure. Montreal, the Highland Games patch. We've had this on for a few weeks. Really cool patch design. As far as I know, it's still out there, but I could be completely wrong on this one. I wasn't able to check, but I thought this was still an active one through this week at least. The Bearded Villains Montreal patch with the tartan of Montreal on it in the background. Looks like you just ripped it right off the kilt. Very cool stuff. Available at MontrealBeardedVillains.com. That's where you're going to grab that bad boy. Next up, the Puerto Rico patch, I think, is still available. I'm sure the Joker will hit me up and yell at me if I'm wrong, but I guess you can't fault me too much for sending some people your way anyway. Their black and white patch, $15 is what it was. Bearded Villains Puerto Rico 1 at gmail.com is where you're going to send your PayPal money for that bad boy. Next up, this one is available for one more week, and I'm honestly completely shocked that this thing has not sold out yet. if you're like me and you've been around for any amount of time at all, you know the quality of patches that Bearded Villains Central England has put out over the years. And they have they've had some really cool sets of patches that have covered a variety of things out there. And I know that I personally know for a fact they have several that are just kind of shelved right now. They haven't done anything with them. But I know that for a fact they have some really cool ones that are just sitting out there. They're just hiding them from us. So this is the Joker set, available, I believe, for 45 pounds as a set. You can buy them individually, but why would you want to? I think each one of them comes with a card. I mean, these things are awesome. It depicts all the different people who have played the Joker over the years. Each one is very different, and they are collectible for sure. These are woven badass patches. The Joker collection, available just this next week only, left over. Bearded at BV Central England, bvcentralengland.bigcartel.com, bvcentralengland.bigcartel.com. Next up, I have for you a brand new one here from the Upstate Villains, the New York Upstate chapter. Just released, I believe this is designated as a 2-year anniversary shirt, but very cool. For some reason, this color really pops. So you guys did really well with this thing. And this X Factor that they put on the back, I'm not sure I've seen too many X Factors with the X that's this freaking bold, and it's badass. It's really cool. New York Upstate Villains, which says Upstate Villains on the front, and then their X Factor, really cool, really nice design on the back. This thing's $25, available at bvnewyorkupstate.bigcartel.com. Very cool design, guys. Great job. Also, I've mentioned this before, and I didn't have a picture of it up for you guys to see it, and I think this is going to be like the last week that this is available, and I believe it's a pre-sale for the Swampside Villains big ass ring. I mean to tell you, this thing will knock people out if you're not careful. Thing is huge. It's pewter. It incorporates, this thing incorporates every single part of their logo, I think. It's available at swampsidevillains.bigcartel.com. Most likely would be the biggest ring you own, but that's not a reason not to get it because it looks pretty cool. If you're a ring collector, wow. So pewter chapter ring for $50, available, I believe, just this week left. Swampsidevillains.bigcartel.com. And the last thing I've got on the list here is actually just kind of a teaser that I came across this week from Denmark. They have a T-shirt. It's their anniversary T-shirt coming soon. Coming soon. That's all we get. This image here, and it just says will be available for pre-order soon. I went to their IG page tonight, and it's still not out there available for purchase, so we're not soon enough yet, apparently. But if you want to get a cool Denmark shirt, coming soon, limited edition, it will be out at some point soon, is what they're telling us. Okay, so that's what we got so far on the merch. Now, I've got one little piece of nugget of news to congratulate a chapter regarding chapter news as well. Okay, I just want to give a shout out. I came across this earlier in the week. If you have stuff going on, guys, send me a picture, send me a note, let me know. I'd love to give you guys a shout out, what your chapters are doing, for sure. New Mexico, Bearded Villains New Mexico just made a donation this past week for the New Mexico Children's Hospital for Christmas in July. So congratulations to you guys. Anytime you get to give back to the kiddos, it's heartfelt and it's awesome. So Christmas in July is such a great idea. And kudos to the Bearded Villains New Mexico chapter for making a donation to the University of New Mexico Children's Hospital. All right. Well, that takes care of our business for the night, right? All the business that we needed to take care of And so now this is just old BP's time to just kind of talk your ear off, right? So watch those viewership numbers fall off the planet, fall off the face of the earth right now. Oh, boys and girls, I'm telling you what, sometimes I just amuse myself. And that's all it takes for sanity purposes, I guess, sometimes. Just a quick reminder, if you guys have any guts whatsoever, any guts, I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to hear from you. All you got to do is find me online. If you don't already follow me online, just look for the Bearded BP and then the little microphone symbol. That's me, the Bearded BP and the little microphone symbol. And I'd love to hear from you. All you got to do is, once you click on there, just do an audio line call, and I'll bring you into the show, and we can chit-chat like we're on the phone. I'd love to hear from you. What has been special so far as we're halfway through the year with 2022 for you? Or what are you looking forward to coming up in the rest of the year? I know many of us are looking forward to that World Meet just in less than a week away now. So I'm super excited about that one for sure. But I just want to take a quick gander back, because sometimes, as the days and weeks and months pass, we kind of forget that, oh my gosh, that was just a few weeks ago, or something seems like it was a lot longer ago than it really was. But unless you were, there to actually witness it. But I started looking back on this year and seeing what some of the interesting things, or some of the more pronounced things that I came across, or that I've advertised here on the show, talked about. And it's funny because we started the year off early, promoting the Smoky Mountain anniversary event. And coming out of the COVID year, I know last fall, knowing that things were starting to finally open back up again in a regular way, most of the places here in the States anyway, we were really looking forward to all this stuff. And then, unfortunately, my schedule took a big snafu on me, and I wasn't able to go to Pigeon Forge for the Smoky Mountain anniversary. As it turned out for me, probably a good thing. Because if I'm not mistaken, a whole boatload of people came away from that event with COVID. And looking back on it, hindsight, I was talking to my wife the other day about it, which incidentally, big shout out to my wife. Her birthday is tomorrow. So she will, she's about 6 months older than me. So I got to give her a hard time every year, not quite 6 months, but, I always tell her this time of year, yeah, I'm dating, I'm back, I'm with an older woman again. And of course she loves that, but I digress. Anyway, so yeah. So earlier in the year, a close contact of mine, family-wise, tested positive for COVID. And I wasn't sure if, even though I tested negative within a day or two of it, I was really concerned. I didn't want to be the person that went to a huge event like that, and then I would have felt responsible. And I guarantee you, if I would have gone to the anniversary event for Smoky Mountain in January, I would have felt like I gave somebody COVID, even if I didn't test positive for it myself, just because I was in close contact with somebody beforehand. And so that kept me home, and I was sad. But turns out I ended up being okay with it once I heard the numbers of people that ended up coming home with COVID within a few days of that event. And so, yeah, that happened to us earlier this year. So it was kind of an eye-opener and a good wake-up call to us, I think, to realize that COVID was still a thing. And even though we were getting to a point in society where we realized that we can live with it, it was still kind of a wake-up call for us here in the BV world, I know, to realize that, oh, well, we maybe we need to just take a little bit of precautions or something. I mean, there's no way to completely root it out and prevent it, really, unless you just don't go. But as we know, We are charitable people who like to be around each other. And as some say, we're not going to let anything get in the way of us being villains and being charitable. So that's what happened. And so a bunch of people ended up with COVID as a result of that event. But later on, a month later or so, I was actually asked, and this was a really cool thing for me because it gave me a chance anytime I get a chance, either as a representative of my chapter or as a representative of the show or just as me or all of the above. Anytime I get a chance to go meet brothers in a different part of the country that I've never met before. And you all know how that works. Everybody's own chapter regularly meets up with the people in their region of the world, the people that are close by within a state or two or three states, or in your region of the country, here in the States anyways, we refer to it. I know it's different overseas, over in England and the whole of Europe. I know everybody over there, you end up in the same distance. You travel 2 or 3 countries that we travel 2 or 3 states. But here in the States, a lot of times, many people, especially just coming out of the COVID time frame, weren't traveling too much. So when LSV5 came around in February and I was asked to come down and MC for their event, I was super excited about being able to do that because it was, number one, it was an event that I'd never been to before. It was in a place that I hadn't been to before, in Fort Worth. I haven't been down there before, February. And even though there were a handful of people from Texas that I'd met at various other events, most of the guys that I saw down there, I'd never been able to meet in person. So, and that happened again a few times, as I'll talk about later in the year. So that to me, it reinvigorates what you have for this brotherhood. Any chance you get to meet these people who you've only known in social media worlds, the people that you've only known maybe on a video call. I know those during the COVID times, those line video calls got pretty popular, or a Skype or whatever else it is. But any chance you get to sit down, break bread, share a drink with a brother that you've not actually had a chance to do that with, it just means more. And so LSV this past year holds a special place for me because it gave me a chance to go where I hadn't been and meet a whole bunch of brothers that I hadn't met before in person. And so I'm very grateful to Scrappy for asking me to come down and to be the MC for that. Hopefully I didn't embarrass him or the chapter or anybody else or myself too badly there at that event, but I had a fun time anyway. And then the following month, just a few weeks later, we we all met together for Nash Vegas in Nashville, which is always a really fun event, always very well attended. That was a huge event given the circumstances and the time frame where, that was the first super big one that I'd been to post-COVID. The much more attended, and crazy enough, it felt like there were more people than there were the previous year for Nash Vegas or the 2 years prior. But I'm not so sure that's the case because it was indoors. But I want to say this. I want to once again say big shout out and thank you and great job to the boys in Tennessee for doing such a great job, the 3-Star Boys, with that event, because I know there was a transition going on. I know that they had all sorts of chapter stuff going on, not in a bad way, but there was a bunch of transition going on in the state of Tennessee as that event approached and as the event was held. And if there was any difficulty or if there was any kind of surprises that came up as an attendee at that event, you didn't feel it. You did not feel it at all. That Nash Vegas event was run just as smoothly as any other event of the smoothest ones that I've been to in the past. The only downside to it, and I don't know if it's really a downside, I guess maybe a little bit, was that because the event itself was held indoors as opposed to outdoors as it was the prior time, which, hey, at the same venue, I was okay with, but anybody that's claustrophobic may have had some issues with that because that place was packed. That place was crowded, packed. And it wasn't just with our people, too. We had a bunch of BV people there, but because it's a public place, there were a bunch of people from the public world that were walking in the door thinking they were just going to a bar that night and found a beard competition going on, which was kind of a cool thing if you think about it, because these people that walk in the door having no idea what bearded villains are, no idea that there's going to be a beard competition going on that day, that there's going to be this massive amount of items for raffle and different things that people can see and take part in themselves too. It's a cool thing. It's a really fun event. And what was really funny for me is that we actually met. There was a foursome of ladies that were there in Nashville to celebrate one of the four of their, I think it was a wedding, I believe. So they were there kind of like a girls' night out the week of the wedding or something like that. I don't think it was truly like a, their big party night. But there were four ladies there, and I think it was for that, hanging out. And what I found was really funny, two of them I think were from my home state, not too far away from where I actually live. And so to be able to sit down and talk to them and say, hey, how you doing? How you doing? And explain to them what the bearded villains are. That was one of the coolest, most unexpected parts of that night in Nash Vegas, because it was in a public forum, in not, our own private room like so many of our other events are, which is a good thing most times. But one of the hidden benefits of Nash Vegas and the way that was held was that you had a bunch of people coming in the door, had no idea what we were about. And it gave us a chance, it gave me a chance anyway, to strike up conversations with people when they looked confused. And hey, you look confused. Have you ever been to a beard competition before? Is that what this is? No, I've never seen them on TV before. I've seen little clips or online or something. And so the smiles that they suddenly had and the way that their faces lit up at this really strange opportunity to find themselves at some weird beard competition at a bar in Nashville, Tennessee on some random night for them. It was very fun. It was very fun to see. And to also let people see who we are and what we're about, and that we're not as scary as we look, and that we have families too. So many of the guys brought families with them. And that was a very fun night. So, great time. Big kudos, shout out to 3-Star Boys and everybody else that helped out with Nash Vegas, because I know that was definitely an undertaking for sure. I'm going to pause for just a second and remind everybody, if you are listening or if you're watching live right now and you want to jump in, you want to give me a call, talk about something fun that you experienced this year, BV related or non-BV related, that's kind of made your year or been something that really sticks out for you, by all means, get over on the Line app on your phone and click on the bearded BP with the microphone, and then do a Line audio call. I'll bring you into the show. We can talk for a few minutes about what's been exciting for your year. So after Nash Vegas, there was a little bit of time. There was a little bit of a break in scheduling of BV events that I didn't have to go anywhere for a few weeks. And that gave me the time over the next month and a half or so to actually have some closer events or closer to participate in some things that were closer to home. And I want to give a shout out anytime I can. I like to give a shout out to this organization. You guys who have been listeners to the show for a long time know that I've mentioned an organization before called Sleep in Heavenly Peace. Now, if you are looking, if your chapter is looking for something to do, if your chapter is kind of just kind of sitting there, and you as a leader in your chapter, you're looking for some charity to partner up with. If you're looking for an organization to not only partner up with to help them out, but actually get your hands dirty, where you can actually help physically. It doesn't involve raising any money. You don't have to make a physical donation of any kind, but you can get out there and you can tangibly, you can feel the donation. You can be a part of something that you will never forget. If this is you, if you're out there trying to find something to be a part of, and you honestly don't have to do it as the chapter. You don't have to do it as a full chapter. You can do it as a couple of guys, or just yourself. I urge you to go out online and look up an organization called Sleep in Heavenly Peace. And I believe their website is sihp.org. And you can find how many chapters or which chapter is the closest to you. And I can tell you firsthand that in the years that I've been a part of Bearded Villains, Sleep in Heavenly Peace has been one of, if not the most rewarding organization that I've ever been a part of, partnering up with. And just real quick, if you've not done it before, if you're not familiar with them, this is an organization whose motto is "No kid sleeps on the floor in our town." And their mission is to make sure that kids in their area do not sleep on the floor. Many of these kids are getting their first bed because of Sleep in Heavenly Peace. They go out, they have a bed build day in the community where people like you, villains, other community members, get together at a prescribed location, sometimes a fairground, sometimes a church building I've seen outside. And you get together and you piecemeal. You make the bed pieces, and you spend 4, 5, 6 hours, however long it takes. And you'll start in the morning about 8 o'clock. You end after lunchtime sometime. And you physically actually cut all the boards. You sand the boards, drill the boards, everything, so that you have all of the pieces ready to go at the end of the day to build X number of beds. This is physical labor that's not too intense, but you feel like you've done something at the end of the day. Knowing that you're building beds, you're building the components, the pieces of the beds that will allow some kid to no longer have to sleep on the floor, on a mattress on the floor, or on a pile of clothes on the floor. And I'm telling you what, if you get a chance to further your working with Sleep in Heavenly Peace and go to a bed delivery day, that's where your life will be changed. That's where your life will be changed. Because on the bed delivery day, the group of you is broken down into smaller groups of 5, 6, 7, 8 people, and you're assigned locations in the community where you go to deliver these houses. These are people that applied online because they did not have the financial resources, sadly, to get their children beds. Some of these homes are homes where there's foster kids. Some of these homes are homes where they just regain custody of a child for some reason. It could be a variety of different reasons. Sometimes you go into a home and you are just building, you're putting together one bed. Sometimes it's a bunk bed. I've been at some builds before, or bed delivery days, where we had one home that had 8 beds. 8 beds. In one room, we had 3 bunk beds in one time. 3 bunk beds in one room. So, but what's crazy is that we take these little things for granted. We take it for granted. And so when you get to these homes and you realize and you see the faces of these kids, they could be 2 years old. They could be 5 years old. They could be as old as I've seen at one home we went to, a 16-year-old who's having his first bed. He laid down on that thing and tears ran down his face after we were done. This is an organization that when we walk in the door, you don't have a bed. We walk out the door, you have a bed with a mattress and all the sheets and bedding ready to go. You can fall asleep on that thing the minute we walk out the door. It's so rewarding. So earlier this year, after the Nash Vegas time period, our chapter members were able to go and participate in a bed build day where we built the componentry of the beds. And you can build in one day, you can build as many as 30, 40, 50 bed pieces. I mean, actually pieces for 30, 40, 50 beds. And then a little later, and we've done it a couple times this year so far, we participated in a bed delivery day where you go out, like I said, and you're delivering these beds to the homes. And I cannot tell you enough how life-changing that is. One of the guys in our chapter, Mr. Forge, he's here watching live right now with us. Excuse me. It was the first thing that he had ever done with our chapter. And this is a guy who is very intimidating looking by his sheer size. He looks like a true giant when he walks into a house. And having him with us on this bed delivery day, and I don't want to steal his thunder, but if you ever get a chance to talk to Mr. Forge from Bearded Villains, Northern Indiana, ask him about his experience with Sleep in Heavenly Peace. It was completely life-changing for him. And as he said here in the comment section, it was his first event, and it was the reason he became a villain after that. So if you get a chance, work with an organization, get out there, find a Sleep in Heavenly Peace chapter. I can tell you it's going to be life-changing. Sorry, I seem to have a tickle in my throat. So that happened earlier this year. We did a couple of the bed delivery days. We also, because we're so close to the Chicago boys, to the BVC guys, had a few different chances to go up there, hang out with them, and help raise them some money for their ACS walk that they had. They had a pool tournament. They hosted a bags tournament or cornhole, depending on what you call it. And this was really cool because this was an example. If you're ever stuck, and this is the reason I bring this up, if you're ever stuck on what can our chapter do to raise money for something, think outside the box, right? You don't always have to do a beard competition. It seems like that's the one that everybody falls back to. Our chapter does it. Many chapters do it. We're going to be doing it again in October, along with several other chapters that are doing it the rest of this year. But it doesn't have to be the thing that you always do. If you're looking for something, think outside the box. And so big shout out to Chicago, because the BVC boys, they were looking for alternative ways to raise money. And really cool idea. They decided to do a pool tournament. And a few weeks later, they did a bags tournament, raising some money. And, it wasn't, each one of them didn't raise thousands and thousands of dollars in and of themselves, but together they really helped out their overall total when they finally made their donation for ACS. So kudos to you guys in Chicago. We loved hanging out with you guys any chance we get. And had to sport the Chicago Villains hat here tonight, along with their anniversary shirt from last year, because we're going to the World Meet in Chicago in just a few days too. So I'm super stoked about that. But so after we got to hang out there, it got to be time for Knox Villains. But that was also the same weekend of the West Coast meet. And I know that the everybody in BV circles was kind of split here in the States that weekend. You had a contingent that went over to the West Coast meet. And as we just talked about, big shout out to the guys out there, because they raised over, I think it was $8,000 and then some, $8,000 and some change. for the Children's Hospital in Seattle. So that was awesome. And then at the same time, the same weekend at Knox Villains, the Knox Villains event was able to raise over $11,000 for the East Tennessee Autism Society. Over $20,000 raised in one weekend by Bearded Villains. If that doesn't get you excited, I don't know what does, right? Think about that for a second. Over $20,000 raised at 2 events, and that they weren't just the only events going on. I know Bearded Villains Indiana, the BVIN chapter, had an anniversary event that weekend. There's all sorts of stuff going on. But you don't have to look super hard to find an event to participate in. Knox Villains is an awesome time. Always is. One of these days, I'll get over to the West Coast meet. It was just too darn expensive to try and make that trek out to Seattle this year, boys and girls. Sorry about that. But it's funny because after Knox Villains, and so, of the bigger meets, the regional meets, having Nash Vegas, then Knox Villains about a month or so later, these are big meets, and you meet a lot of people. But then one of the coolest things that happened for me personally, not only as a villain, but also representative of the chapter, but also as just a guy who likes to meet other villains that I've never met before, as I said. After Knox Villains, I got to go up to the Great Lakes meet up in Stillwater, Minnesota, and meet all the guys with the Minnesota chapter. And I'm telling you what, it was such a rewarding weekend. It was so good because this was not an event that had hundreds of people at it. It was not a meet where there were hundreds of villains at. It was a small meet. The Great Lakes meet was. But it was one of my favorite things I attended this year for the reason that it gave me an opportunity to personally sit down, and that's one of the most rewarding things. Never, I want to tell everybody this. I want you to never put down or lose sight of the ability to go to an event that you deem might be smaller than a bigger event. Never say, if you can't, just don't prioritize the big ones all the time. The ones that are going to have hundreds of people at them. Don't make that your priority. Make your priority the chance to meet villains that you've not met before, so you can make those connections. That's what you should do. And that's what the Great Lakes meet was for me. It gave me an opportunity to hang out with and meet guys that I've never met in person before. And because it was a smaller meet, it wasn't just that weird interaction where you just say hi and you feel like, at the end of the weekend, you really didn't get a chance to talk. I actually felt like I got to connect with and talk to a lot of different guys from that chapter, because you have the time. Your attention's not diverted that you have to go here, and meet all these people. So if you get a chance to go to some of the meets that you deem that might be smaller, don't put those on the back burner. Give yourself that opportunity to go out and say hi and to meet these people that are brothers out there that are putting on something for charity and doing exactly what you would like to do, and support them. We need to support each other. So getting up there to Great Lakes meet, to Stillwater, and see the Minnesota guys, it was awesome. One of my favorite things of this year. And then with my chapter, the week after that, after we did that, we had our Relay for Life event here, where it's a Relay for Life, the Cancer Walk, where we had the vast majority of our guys from our chapter that was able to come and hang out and for the day and do the walk. Unfortunately, the walk that we are a part of in the county here in northern Indiana that we went to, it's become a much smaller, less attended walk over the years. We think that's partly due to organization. So we're hoping that that'll change in the future. But anytime you get a chance to hang out with your brothers and just hang out for an entire day and talk and walk, get a little exercise in, raise a little bit of money, it's a good time. It's a good time. So, and then we rounded out the first half of the year with my first international trip, going up to Bucko, Beards for Bucko up in Fort Erie, Ontario. Again, this was so cool because not only was it my first time traveling officially internationally, but it was my first time to be able to meet a ton of brothers up in Canada. Some of these guys that I've been a part of the video calls, right? The Lakeshore guys up there, they run a Friday night. If you didn't know, they run a line video chat. They run a video chat, a virtual meet, if you call it, or whatever, every Friday night. And I've been on that thing for months and months. But this was a chance to actually sit down and meet these guys in person for the first time, along with a bunch of other guys that came up from the States. And it was such a fun weekend. And I'm excited to say that I get to see some of these guys that are coming back down from Canada at the World Meet this next weekend. But these are examples, guys, of take yourself out of your comfort zone and find a way to be able to meet people that are not at your normal event. Between the meetup in Minnesota and the meetup in Canada this year, I would say that I met at least 30, 40 brothers and actually had deep, actual meaningful conversations with guys that I had not actually had a chance to before, that were just a face in social media. So I encourage you guys to do that. That was my year so far. As I look back on it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 events, BV events that I've been lucky enough to go to so far. And yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. I know that I'm in a very fortunate situation where I'm able to do that. But anytime, if you can't, guys, just find a way to go hang out in these areas or at these other meets that you have not been to. I know I'm looking in here. Franks and Beans he comments, BP, come camping at Four Corners. We'll set you up. No ground sleeping for you. Yeah, he's a man after my own heart. There he is. He knows BP does not camp on the tents anymore. No more tent camping for old BP. I got to get my hands on an RV if I'm going to be going to the Four Corners meet. But yeah, I'd love to. I would really love to. The timing of Four Corners is a very sketchy time calendar-wise for me, but it's on my bucket list of events I want to go to. The guys that talk about Four Corners meet, they universally say that it's pretty much their favorite meet. And one of the great things about Four Corners is there is nothing to take away from brother time, from the brotherhood. There's no main events per se. It's just guys hanging out for the weekend, brothers only. And that's such a cool event. That's such a cool idea. And it's definitely one that's on my bucket list to go to. It's just a sketchy time, time-wise for me. Ricky Swat coming in says that feeling to finally meet a villain from another state or country that you've been talking to through IG is awesome. Yes, I 100% agree. And that's why these larger events where if a guy's only able to go, I've been preaching all day long here about the smaller events, the ones that are kind of under the radar. And that's really, really good for those. It gives you the chance to meet up and actually have long, meaningful conversations with people. But you also can't discount the ones where you feel like you're just going to be a number. Because those ones where you feel like you might just be a number, I mean, there's over 380 people in the line chat for the World Meet right now. And yeah, we know that that's not going to be all of them that are coming. They're not all going to be there. But at times at these larger meets, at the world meets, you can feel a little bit like a number. But if it's going to be the one chance for you to just be able to hang out with a brother from a different part of the world, and it's their one travel time to the States for the next year, you've got to take advantage of that. You got to take advantage of that. If you're still on the fence about going to World Meet this year, just bulldoze that fence down. Just bulldoze it the hell down, because it's in Chicago. Chicago has an incredible transit system. You can get anywhere you want fairly easily. It's actually more difficult if you're driving yourself, more congested, but you can get where you need to get. I know that BPC, the Chicago guys, are just rolling out the carpet and doing all sorts of craziness for everybody, because they've been working on this thing for 3 years. So they're super excited to finally be able to put this thing on. So because it's centrally located here in the States, I know that makes it much easier for a lot of the people here in the States to come, because it's a major city, and with two international airports, it gives the opportunity for people from all over the world to come. So this is going to be a big one. This is going to be a big one, and it's going to give you a chance to meet people from different parts, literally, of the world. I'm excited to be able to meet Rababa. I'm excited to meet him. So take advantage of this time and find a meet that you've not been to, or find a way to get to World Meet, and just plan for it. Plan for it. Try not to make, I will preface this. I understand everybody's financial situations are different, and there are many of our brothers out there who are hurting financially. So I don't want to diminish that. However, if you have the ability to save up a little bit of money each month, I would recommend that you make it a point to try and do that, so that once a year, pick out an event. If you could only travel once a year, find an event and plan for it. Don't let the opportunity to meet your brothers from a different part of the world or a different part of your country, don't make that a secondary agenda item. Don't make that something that maybe it could happen. Make it a priority for yourself. It's a really cool thing that too many people, it seems, don't make a priority. They think, well, if I get to it, I get to it. If you've been to a multi-chapter meet with people from all over, and I can tell you that I don't know many people that have ever been to one where they didn't tell stories about how it changed for them and how it changed them. So give yourself that possibility, and make it a priority to go to a meet or two a year. And maybe you can't go to the same meet each year. Maybe you can. But go out of your comfort zone a little bit. Maybe go to a small meet and a big meet in a year. And does that maybe mean that if you could only go to one or two, you may not be able to go to that one that's you really like, because you're going to try to do something different one year? Maybe. But how cool would that be? We are a very diverse brotherhood. We are a very diverse brotherhood. And if you're not meeting the people that are in this brotherhood who are unlike you, you are missing out. You are missing out. If you are only meeting up with people that are just like you, that look like you, that grew up like you, that have the same values as you per se, that are a carbon copy of you, then you are missing out. We have some really cool brothers out there that I guarantee you will shock you. The kind of cool people that we have out there. So find a way. Find a way to go hang out with some of these people for sure. Absolutely. If you are looking for an all-natural beard oil that will not only tame your beard and coarse hairs, but make your beard soft and smell amazing, check out Pulpo Beard Oils. Veteran-owned and made for today's beards, Pulpo Beard Products combine the best beard ingredients on the market with incredible customer service to ensure your happiness. Whether you need beard wash, beard oil, beard balm, or some fun clothing, Pulpo is the place to go. Feel fresh, feel savage, feel confident with Pulpo Beard Oils. Go to Pulpo Beard Oils, that's Pulpo, beardoils.com, and use the code The Heart of a Villain for a discount on your order. Okay, well, you guys that are here with me live, you failed me. You failed me. I opened up the phone lines for somebody to call in or people to call in and tell me their fun stuff for the year, and nobody did. But that's okay. That's okay. Maybe some other time, right? Maybe some other time. You guys kill me. Sometimes people just, hey, maybe you should have a call-in. Hey, when you do, you don't, right? I do have a call-in sometimes, and people don't try to do it. So, hey, it is what it is, guys. I want to get into our calendar of events here, and we got a few different things on the board. I've got one more thing. I'm telling you what, the month of October is really getting crowded. It's really getting crowded with Halloween type stuff. So let's get into our calendar of events. This upcoming weekend, July 31st, the Bearded Villains Central England has their Kingsbury Family Meet. The Kingsbury Family Meet. I'm assuming, since it's just a one-day thing, you're not going to be going to it if you're out of the country, but if you're close by, maybe you could. Hit up the Bearded Villains Central England for further details for the Kingsbury Family Meet, July 31st. The next weekend, I know people are starting to roll into town midweek, but officially the World Meet in Chicago kicks off August 5th through the 7th. August 5th through the 7th. Chicago, Illinois. Their Bearded Villains Chicago are your host. They've been waiting for 3 years to do this, so they're doing it in style. Hit up the Bearded Villains Chicago for all the details. They've been sneaking out little bits and pieces of details over the last couple of weeks, and I'm sure in these next few days, they're probably going to leak something else out. So keep an eye on the Bearded Villains page in Chicago. Get into the line chat that's out there available to talk about the World Meet, and it's going to be awesome. It's going to be awesome. I'm really looking forward to it. So my hope is to next week I'm going to be I'll be doing an interview with somebody from the BVC, letting a little bit of secrets out, and we're going to be talking World Meet right before the World Meet, just hours before the World Meet starts. So that's that. Next weekend, August 5th through the 7th, the World Meet. Then August 21st, the Blackshire Family Meet called Lamb Fest. It's in Clifton Park in Rotherham. Lamb Fest. They had Ram Fest a few weeks back, and now it's Lamb Fest. The Blackshire Family Meet, August 21st. Then getting into September, the weekend of September 9th through the 11th, we already heard from one of our bros, Mr. Franks and Beans, talking to us about the Four Corners Meet. That's one of two events that are coming up that weekend, the Four Corners Meet, September 9th through the 11th. It is a camping adventure in Cortez, Colorado. Do your own geography homework. I don't want to give you the cheat sheet to it if you don't know what the Four Corners are, but I can tell you one of them is Colorado, because that's where this thing is. Four Corners. It's in Cortez, Colorado. It's a camping adventure for brothers only. Brothers only. September 9th through the 11th. Then also September 9th through the 11th is Battle of the Beards. Battle of the Beards. I believe this is year 4 or 5. I can't even remember. Time flies. Battle of the Beards. Well, just call it 2022. Hosted by the Southern Indiana Villains in Evansville, Indiana. There's a meet and greet on the 9th, a beard competition on the 10th at VFW Post 1114 in Evansville. There's, like I said, a beard competition, raffles, auction. Always a good time. They're always raising money for veterans charities for this event. Battle of the Beards, September 9th to the 11th. Then we slide into the end of September for that big old event called the East Coast Meet. That's right, ECM. ECM is hosted by the Southern Maryland and Chesapeake Bay Boys. SOMD and Chesapeake Bay are your hosts for ECM in Baltimore, Maryland. Main event is at the Power Plant. Hilton Baltimore Inner Harbor is the place where they're hosting most of the sleeping arrangements, per se. But September 23rd to the 25th for ECM, the East Coast meet. That's going to be a very well-attended event as well. In Baltimore, hit up SOMD or Chesapeake Bay for details further. Then in October, like I said, it's a crazy, crazy month, boys and girls. October 14th and 15th. October 14th and 15th is the Florida Summit in Orlando, Florida. You got a meet and greet on the 14th, beard competition on the 15th. But wait, there's more. That's right. The Florida Summit is not the only thing going on that weekend. October 14th, 15th has also on the 15th the Rocket City Halloween Bash. Rocket City Halloween Bash down in Alabama. Details forthcoming. I don't have all the details on that one yet, but it was a great time last year. It was a beard competition, costume contest event hosted by the Rocket City Boys. It's the Rocket City Halloween Bash, October 15th. And then the new one on our event calendar is the same day. And it's the same sort of type event. Is October 15th. Is All Hallows. Oh, I kid myself. I correct myself up sometimes. October 15th is All Villains Eve. All Villains Eve. I don't know why when you think of it that way, you just want to say All Hallows Eve. But no, it's All Villains Eve. All Villains Eve. Phoenix Villains are your hosts. It's in Mesa, Arizona. Now get this. Get this. This is pretty cool. Yes, it has a costume contest. Yes, it has raffles and stuff. But it has wrestling. Wrestling. Yes, there's going to be wrestling, vendors, raffles, more, all sorts of stuff. It benefits the Phoenix Children's Hospital. It's in Mesa, Arizona. Wrestling and a costume contest. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. All Villains Eve, October 15th. And then the last event that I've got on my calendar for October is my event, my chapter's event here in Northern Indiana. Don't miss it. It's the week before Halloween. The Return of Ezra Crow. The Return of Ezra Crow. It's a Halloween costume contest, beard competition. It's going to be a blast. It's going to be a blast. We're raising money for the Ronald McDonald Houses of Northern Indiana. The cool thing is, not only do you get to participate in a beard competition and or costume contest, but we ask everybody to bring a donation of some sort of packaged snack items, which then become trick-or-treat items in the hospitals for the kids. Very cool event. We look forward to it, and I can't wait to make a huge donation of not just the financial part of it, but the trick-or-treat items that we collect at the event as well for the hospital. They loved that part of it last year. When we were able to show up at the hospital with those with the carloads of trick-or-treat items for the kids there, it was awesome. So that's the Return of Ezra Crow here in Northern Indiana, October 22nd. And that's the calendar of events for episode 145. 145. Guys, seems crazy to say it, but that's going to wrap up episode 145. That's all I have to say about that. Hey, guys, thanks so much for being here. Remember, you can still buy those shirts, patches, pins, poker chips, all that fun stuff at theheartofavillain.simplecast.com. Theheartofavillain.simplecast.com. That's where you can listen to all previous 144 episodes of this show. As I've said before, some are better than others. I thank you guys for being here. I want to challenge you guys, as I do every week, to be the villain that the world needs you to be, because the heart of a villain never stops beating. The most important words I say every week, guys, as I say them every time, please remember them always. Remember, it's okay not to be okay. If you are hurting, please find a brother to talk to. Remember, it's okay not to be okay. So, guys, have a great rest of this week. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy the week ahead. I will see you at World Meet next week if you're going. Otherwise, I'll be back here Wednesday night, not Thursday night, Wednesday night for episode 146 of The Heart of a Villain. Guys, hey, take care. Stay safe.
From the start to the finish, go hard and we winning. It's the heart of a